The elevator doors closed with their usual tired groan. Just me and Mr. Harlan from 12B, the old man who never spoke above a whisper. He stared straight ahead, then suddenly pressed a folded scrap of paper into my palm. His fingers were ice. I opened it under the weak light. "Pretend you're sick and get out of there quickly," it read in shaky handwriting. I looked at him. He didn't blink. Just nodded once, hard. My stomach dropped. I'd lived in this building 23 years. Nothing ever happened here. But something in his eyes, terror older than both of us, made me obey. I clutched my chest, coughed like I was dying, and slammed the emergency button. I can't breathe, I gasped. The doors opened on the 7th floor. I stumbled out, pretending to collapse against the wall, then bolted for the stairwell the second the elevator left. Heart hammering, I ran down 12 flights and burst into the street. Only when the cold November air hit my face did I dare look back. The building looked normal. Too normal. 10 minutes later my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single photo. My apartment door, wide open. Standing open. And in the darkness inside, 2 red dots glowing like cigarette tips, watching. Someone was already waiting for me. I'm Margaret Ellis, 61 years old, widow, retired librarian, the woman everyone calls Sweet Mrs. Ellis from 12A. I water plants for neighbors on vacation. I bake banana bread no one asked for. I've never run from anything in my life. Until tonight. Because whoever was in my apartment wasn't there to borrow sugar. They were there because 33 years ago I did something unforgivable. And they finally found me. If you're watching this, drop your city in the comments right now. I need to know how far this story has spread. Hit like if your heart is already racing, and subscribe with notifications on, because what happens next, even I didn't see coming. And I lived it. The note was still crumpled in my fist when I reached the corner cafe that never closes. I ordered tea I didn't drink and sat in the back booth trying to breathe. Mr. Harlan had risked everything to warn me. But my phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. This time a video. 30 seconds. The camera moved slowly through my apartment. My books. My framed photos of my dead husband. The little porcelain cat my daughter gave me before she stopped speaking to me. The camera lingered on my bedroom door. Then a man's voice, low and calm, the kind that enjoys being calm when everyone else is screaming. "Hello, Margaret," he said. "You thought changing your name would be enough? You thought time would forgive you?" The video ended with the camera pointing at my bed. On it lay a single white rose and a Polaroid. The Polaroid showed a little girl, maybe 7 years old, crying. I knew that little girl. I gave birth to her. And I left her. The tea went cold. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I hadn't heard that voice in decades, but I knew it instantly. Victor Lang. The brother of the man I killed. He wasn't supposed to be alive. I made sure of it. Yet there he was, inside my home, drinking from my cups, touching my life with fingers that should have rotted years ago. Another text. "Run all you want, Maggie. I've waited 33 years. I can wait one more night." I stood up so fast the chair fell. I needed to disappear. But first I needed to understand how he found me. And why now? I walked 8 blocks in the rain to the only person still alive who knows what I did. My sister Ruth. She stopped answering my calls 15 years ago. Tonight she was going to talk. Even if I had to break her door down. I pressed her buzzer at 2:14 a.m. No answer. I pressed again. The intercom crackled. "Margaret." Her voice sounded like broken glass. "Jesus Christ, get out of here. Let me in, Ruth. You don't understand. They're already here." The line went dead. I looked up. Across the street a black car idled. Engine running. Headlights off. Someone inside watching me. I ran. Behind me the car door opened. Footsteps. Fast. I turned into an alley, jumped a fence I hadn't climbed since 1989, and hid behind dumpsters that smelled like death. The footsteps stopped. A flashlight swept the darkness. Then the voice, the same calm monster from the video. "I can smell your fear, Maggie. It still smells the same." The light passed inches from my face. I held my breath until my lungs burned. He lingered, then walked away. I waited 20 minutes. When I finally crawled out, something was taped to the dumpster. Another note. In Mr. Harlan's handwriting. "I'm sorry. They made me choose between my granddaughter and you. I chose wrong." Under it, a key. And an address I hadn't seen in 30 years. The house where everything began. Where I became the woman who runs. Where I became the woman who deserves to be hunted. I looked at the key in my shaking hand. Then at the black car still waiting across the street. I had two choices. Keep running. Or walk straight into the fire and burn it down myself. I put the key in my pocket. For the first time in decades I stopped running. Victor wanted me terrified. Good. Terror makes me sharp. And I had 33 years of practice being afraid. Now it was his turn. End of hook plus introduction. The rain turned to sleet by the time I reached the subway. I bought a ticket to the last stop somewhere no one would look. I needed time to think. My reflection in the train window looked like a stranger. Gray hair plastered to my skull, eyes too wide, mouth set like I was about to bite someone. Good. I needed to become someone else tonight. Someone Victor wouldn't recognize until it was too late. The train lurched. Almost empty. Just me and a sleeping drunk and a teenager with headphones. At 14th Street a man got on. Hood up. Hands in pockets. He sat 3 rows ahead back to me. But I saw his reflection in the window. He was watching me. I gripped the pepper spray I'd carried since 1992. The train lights flickered. When they came back on he was gone. But on the seat where he'd been, another white rose. Fresh. Still wet. My stop was next. I stood, legs shaking, and walked to the door. As the train slowed I saw him again standing on the platform waiting. Same height. Same build. But when the doors opened the platform was empty. Just the rose rolling gently in the wind from the train. I stepped off. The train pulled away. I was alone. Then the lights went out. Emergency red glowed. A voice echoed through the tunnel. Maggie. Not from speakers. From right behind me. I turned. Victor stood 10 feet away smiling like we were old friends. Older than 60 but still strong. Still beautiful in that cruel way. In his hand, the porcelain cat from my apartment. He stroked it like a pet. You kept her all these years, he said softly. That's almost sweet. I backed up until I hit the wall. Nowhere to run down here, Maggie. I smiled. He frowned. That's the thing, Victor, I said. I'm done running. I pulled the key from my pocket and held it up. His eyes flicked to it. Recognition. Fear. Finally. You want to go back to that house? I asked. Fine. Let's go. I tossed him the key. He caught it without thinking. Big mistake. Because the second his hand closed around it, I pressed the button on the tiny remote in my other palm. The one Mr. Harlan gave me with the key. The key wasn't to the old house. It was to the explosives he'd spent the last month planting there. For his granddaughter. Or for me. Didn't matter anymore. Victor looked down at the key. Then at me. Realization hit. I was already running up the stairs. Behind me, far away but coming fast, a low rumble. Then light. Then nothing. I didn't look back. Some fires you have to burn. Even if they take everything with them. But when I reached street level my phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. A new photo. The old house still standing. No explosion. No fire. Just Victor inside holding the key smiling at the camera. Under the photo 3 words. Nice try, Mom. My blood froze. That wasn't Victor. That was my daughter. And she'd been waiting a lot longer than 33 years. The rain had stopped, but the city still dripped like a wound that refused to clot. I stood under the buzzing streetlight at 3:47 a.m., staring at the photo she sent. My daughter. Eleanor. The little girl I abandoned in 1992. The little girl who was now 40 years old and calling me Mom like a curse. Her face wasn't in the picture, just Victor sitting tied to a chair in the old house. Mouth gagged with one of my own scarves. Eyes wide with the exact terror he'd spent decades perfecting in others. Below the photo another message. Come alone. Bring the cat. Or I start cutting pieces off your old friend. I looked down at the porcelain cat in my handbag. Its painted smile suddenly looked obscene. I had 2 hours until sunrise. 2 hours to walk into the house I swore I'd never see again. 2 hours to face the child I threw away like trash. I took the night bus to the way people take poison, slowly, deliberately, knowing exactly what it will do. The driver didn't even glance at me. Just another old woman going nowhere good. I got off at the edge of town where the streetlights die and the trees remember every scream they've ever swallowed. The house waited at the end of the gravel road like it had been holding its breath for 33 years. Windows dark. Front door open. Inviting. I stepped over the threshold and the smell hit me first: mildew, old blood, and something sweet rotting. Maggie. Her voice came from the living room. Not little girl soft anymore. Smoky. Patient. Surgical. I walked in. She sat in my mother's old rocking chair, legs crossed, wearing black leather gloves and a smile that belonged on a shark. Eleanor. My God, she was beautiful. And she hated me with every perfected inch of herself. Victor was tied in the corner, still alive, breathing through his nose like a panicked horse. On the coffee table between us, a bottle of bourbon, 2 glasses, and a .38 revolver. Next to it, a stack of photographs. All of me. For years. Hundreds of them. Me at the grocery store. Me watering plants. Me crying at Richard's grave on the anniversary of his death. She'd been watching me longer than I'd been running. Sit, she said. I sat. She poured bourbon into both glasses. Drink. I drank. It burned like truth. You look smaller than I remember, she said. You were 7. I was 7 when you left me in that hospital parking lot with a note that said, I'm sorry. Do you remember what you wrote on the back? I did. I wrote, don't look for me. I was never your mother. I was just the woman who carried you. She leaned forward. I looked anyway. Silence stretched like a wire about to snap. Victor whimpered behind the gag. Eleanor didn't even glance at him. He found me 6 months ago, she said. Told me everything. How you seduced his brother. How you got pregnant on purpose. How you shot Daniel in the face when he tried to take me away from you. How you staged the car accident. How you buried him in the backyard and told the police we both died. Her voice never rose. That was the worst part. Then Victor told me he'd help me punish you. All I had to do was wait. She picked up the gun. Casual. Like picking up a pen. I waited, Mom. I waited until you were old and soft and lonely. Until you thought you'd gotten away with it. She stood. Walked over to Victor. Pressed the barrel against his temple. He screamed into the gag. Please, I whispered. Please what? She asked. Please don't kill the man who was going to torture you to death? Please don't give you the exact mercy you never gave me. She looked at me. Eyes the same gray as mine. Eyes that used to beg me not to leave. Choose, she said. I shoot him and let you live with it. Or I shoot you and let him live with it. One monster dies tonight. You pick which. My mouth tasted like rust. I looked at Victor. The man who hunted me for decades. Then at my daughter. The child I murdered the day I walked away. I stood up slowly. Walked to the table. Picked up the gun myself. Eleanor's eyebrows rose. I turned. Aimed at Victor. And pulled the trigger. Vicky. She laughed. Soft. Delighted. I took the bullets out hours ago. I wanted to see what you'd choose. She took the gun from my hand. Reloaded it with practiced grace. 6 bullets. 1 for every decade I stole from her. He pressed it into my hand. Now it's real. Choose. I looked at Victor. Then at her. Then at the backyard beyond the window where Daniel's bones were still sleeping under the roses I planted to hide the smell. I raised the gun. Pointed it straight at Eleanor's heart. And smiled. You're right, I said. One monster dies tonight. Her smile faltered. Just for a second. Enough. I turned the gun around. Pressed the barrel under my own chin. Goodbye, baby, I whispered. And pulled the trigger. She'd lied again. No bullets. Just another test. Eleanor stared at me. Something ancient moved behind her eyes. Not hate. Worse. Disappointment. You won't even give me that? She asked quietly. I dropped the gun. No, I said. I'm done giving you anything. You want me dead? Do it yourself. Put me in the ground next to your father. But you'll have to carry me there. You'll have to dig the hole. You'll have to feel every second of it. And when you're old and alone, you'll remember it was your hands that did it. Not mine. Silence. Then she screamed. A sound I hadn't heard since she was 7, and I locked her in the closet for spilling milk. Raw. Child. She flew at me. Fists. Nails. We crashed into the coffee table. Bourbon soaked my hair. Glass cut my arms. I didn't fight back. I let her hit me until her knuckles bled. Until she was sobbing on my chest like the little girl I destroyed. I wrapped my arms around her. Held her while she broke. Victor watched from the corner, forgotten. After forever, her breathing slowed. She whispered against my neck, "Why didn't you love me?" I stroked her hair, the same way I did when she had nightmares. "Because I didn't love myself," I said. "And I thought if I left, you'd have a chance to be loved by someone better." She pulled back, tears cutting tracks through the blood on her face. "There was no one better." I closed my eyes, opened them. "I know." He looked at Victor, then at the gun on the floor, then at me. "What happens now?" I stood, picked up the gun, walked to Victor. He shook his head frantically. I removed the gag. He gasped, "Maggie, please." I shot him in the knee. He howled. Then I handed the gun to Eleanor. 5 bullets left. "Your turn," I said. "Whatever you need." She stared at the gun, then at me. Then very carefully she placed it on the floor, kicked it away. "I don't want to be you," she whispered. She walked to the door, stopped, back. "I go by Nora now," she said. "Nora Lang." Victor gave me his name when he adopted me. Funny, right? She stepped into the night, didn't look back again. I sat on the floor next to Victor's whimpering body and waited for the police I'd called from the bus using a burner phone. When they arrived, I told them everything. They found Daniel's bones at dawn. They arrested me at noon. Eleanor Nora never came to the trial. But every year on the anniversary of the night she let me live, a single white rose arrives at the prison. No note, just the flower. Still wet, still perfect. Some fires you don't put out. You just learn to live with the burns. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the person you burned most forgives you enough to let you keep breathing, even if they never come close again. The prison smells like bleach and boiled cabbage, but I've learned to breathe through my mouth. 6 years now. Sentence, 25 to life. I took the plea because I was tired of lying. They put me in general population at 61. Most women here are half my age and twice as mean. I lasted 3 weeks before they broke my wrist in the laundry room. After that, the warden moved me to protective custody with the other grandmothers and snitches. We knit scarves for charity and pretend the world outside still exists. Every morning at mail call is the same. Nothing for Ellis, Margaret. Every evening I tell myself tomorrow will be different. It never is. Until the morning it was. A guard I don't know slides an envelope under my cell door during count. No stamp. No return address. Just my name and handwriting I haven't seen since 1992. I wait until lights out to open it. Inside, a single Polaroid. Me asleep on the lower bunk, mouth open, gray hair wild on the pillow. Taken from the top bunk. Last night. On the back in black Sharpie. "Time to finish what we started, Mom." My heart forgets how to beat. There are only 8 women in this dorm. 7 are asleep around me right now. The 8th bunk has been empty for 2 months. I sit up slowly. The top bunk above me creaks. A shadow moves. She's been here the whole time. Transferred in under a fake name, shaved 10 years off her age, dyed her hair black, lost 30 pounds in county waiting for a bed. All to get close enough to watch me rot up close. Nora lowers herself silently to the floor. Still beautiful. Still lethal. She's wearing prison blues like they were couture. In her hand, a toothbrush melted to a razor point. She puts a gloved finger to her lips. Then she smiles the way children do when Christmas comes early. I don't scream. I don't beg. I just look at her and say the first true thing I've said in years. "I'm glad you came." Her smile falters. "I kept your bunk warm," I whisper. "Every night I knew you'd come. I saved you the top. Better view." She glances up at the empty bunk, confused. I reach under my thin mattress and pull out the real gift I've been knitting for 6 years. Not a scarf. A garrote. Thin steel wire braided with dental floss. Strong enough to cut through bone if you saw long enough. I stand. My knees don't even shake anymore. "I practiced on the rats in the kitchen," I say softly. "Took me 4 years to get the tension right. Want to see?" Nora's eyes flick to the weapon, then to the camera in the hallway that I disabled yesterday with toothpaste and a stolen battery. We're alone. No guards for another 18 minutes. She raises the shank. I raise the garrote. For the first time in 67 years I feel young. We move at the same time. She's faster. Always was. The shank slides into my side just under the ribs, hot and clean. I gasp, but I expected it. I loop the wire over her head in the same heartbeat. Heart. We fall together onto the cold floor, her back to my chest, my arm around her throat like I'm hugging my little girl again. She thrashes. I hold tighter. Blood, mine, hers, doesn't matter. Makes everything slick. I lean to her ear. I was never trying to escape punishment, baby, I whisper. I was waiting for you to deliver it. She claws at the wire. Her legs kick. I feel her pulse against my forearm, frantic, then slower. I love you, I say. I always did. I just didn't know how to carry it. Her body goes heavy. Keep holding her. Counting. 1 minute. 2. 3. When I finally let go, her eyes are open, staring at the bottom of the top bunk. I close them with shaking fingers. Then I drag her up, tuck her under the thin blanket, arrange her hands like she's sleeping. I lie down beside her on the narrow mattress. Put the shank in her hand. The garrote around my own neck loose like I did it to myself after. I close my eyes. For the first time in decades, I sleep without dreaming. They find us at morning count. Official report. Inmate Alice, Margaret, age 67, strangled herself with homemade weapon after fatally stabbing new transfer inmate Carter, Nora, in apparent murder-suicide. No one questions it. Old ladies snap sometimes. Case closed. But they miss the tiny detail I left for the one person who will understand. On the wall above our bunk, scratched deep into the paint with the shank tip before I died. A single white rose. Still wet. Still perfect. Because some stories don't end when the monsters die. They just change who's telling them. And somewhere out there, a little girl who never got her mother's love is finally free to grow up without it. I hope she uses the space I left her for something beautiful. I really do.